Hi, welcome back to Country Basket Weaving. I'm your hostess, Sandy Atkinson. Today we're going to be working on our medium-sized market carrier, a nice little basket just to carry around shopping or picnics perhaps. A lot of uses on this one. The material and cut pattern for today is as follows. You will need 5/8 inch flat reed, cut 5 pieces 28 inches long, 8 pieces 32 inches, 9 pieces 42 inches, and 12 pieces 18 inches long. You're going to need number 4 round reed dyed pink, 1/4 inch flat reed dyed pink, 3/8 inch flat reed dyed brown, number 1 seagrass, number 5 seagrass, 1/2 inch flat oval, 4 millimeter cane, and 1 medium Victorian handle. To get on with the pattern today, I've already taken the time to lay this out. And this should be about a 9-inch spread across here. Have your centers marked and have them all lined up. The first piece that we're going to weave in is our 28-inch piece, and it has to weave over the first spoke here and every other one thereafter. I have 9 spokes across here, so I know that my 5th one is in the middle. Line everything up. Then I've taken an 18-inch spoke, and I've marked it here in the center and 4.5 inches on either side. This basket has a closed bottom, and that's what we're going to create now. I have to go opposite weave of the first one I put in, trying to keep everything lined up. Weave at every other one. And here's my center, so I'm going to line up my center mark underneath it, and I'm going to draw this tight. I'm going to butt them right up together here. Go back and line things up. Now, this mark here should be on the edge. I'll pull it over a little bit. And this mark over here needs to be on this edge. So then I can just kind of eyeball these pieces and line things back up. Bring this piece over. If I have my wrong side up here, this will be a right side here. Skip over your first one. I like to come in here and measure it first, about halfway. I'm going to clip it back a little bit. Going to weave under my 3rd spoke from the right, fit it in there tight, and then fit it underneath my center spoke. I'm going to do the same thing over here, and I'm going to weave this over and hide that in underneath my center spoke and pull everything back in tight. I'm going to take another piece of my short piece here, and I'm going to weave it on the other side up here. And again, line up my centers. This one has also been marked with my 4.5 inch marks. Pull it all in tight. Bring it over. That's going to fit there. This one's just a little off, so make an adjustment. Bring it over here, and that one fits. So I'm going to go ahead and weave this in. Hide my end underneath the center. You can see I'm creating a solid bottom on this basket. Then I'm going to take, again, my 28-inch piece. It's going to weave over the first spoke, over and under. At this point, you'll probably be able to take your spoke weight off. Line up my pencil marks in the center and draw everything tight. I'm going to continue repeating this. Now I'll put in a short one, and then I put in another another 28-inch one until I've used up my 5 pieces, 1 in the middle and 2 on either side. Then you're going to add your 32-inch pieces, 4 on each side. And I've already done that, so let me show you. Bring out the next set here. This is my last piece of my short one that I'm putting in. And again, I'm going to bring these over. I have to do some trim work on this one. It needs to be about halfway. These are my longer pieces that I'm working with on the ends here. One under. I need to trim this one back a little bit. One thing that I find is real easy to do is not keep everything square and lined up. So it doesn't hurt to take a tape measure once in a while and measure. Make sure you're right on. This is my last piece that I'm putting in. Line up my center and butt everything up tight. Now, some of these pieces are a little hard to fit in, so I'm kind of raising it up here in the middle, working it in tight. Do that on the other side. Pull it in tight. Make any necessary adjustments. Okay, now at this point, I want you to take the whole thing and flip it over, so we're working on the back. What we're going to create on the back, we're going to use 4 pieces of our number 4 round reed, and we're going to do 4 rod wale. It's working with 4 pieces, 4 different end lengths. And by doing this wale around the base, I'm actually creating a little foot or a little shoe for it to stand up on. It's very easy to do. It's a form of twining. Okay, I have 4 end lengths here. My end lengths are going into 4 consecutive holes here, taking my farthest one over to the left and kind of hanging on to everything else. It's going to weave over 3 and behind the 4th. Now my farthest one again to the left will be over 3 and behind the 4th. You can see by doing this one, I'm creating a little height on it, which will create that shoe. Now, when I get to my corners, my one at the corner is just going to bend down. My far one on my left is going to come around and go around the spoke at the corner. Again, I'm taking the next one. It's going to go behind the second spoke on the corner. Careful that you don't pull that. See how I'm pulling that? We don't want to do that. We want to line this up, put a little bend on it, make sure they all stay together, and it's a nice smooth turn that we make here. Here's my last one. We're going around. Now, take a minute, adjust these, have them all lined up so they're nice and smooth right here. And then come back here and take my far left one again and go around. It's really just like twining that we've been doing, except we're working with 4 strands instead of 2 or 3 that we use in triple twine. Again, my farthest one. I want you to continue around this until you have done 2 rows. And I've already done that. And I'm going to pull that basket out and show you how to end it. So we need 2 rows around the base. Here I have finished my 2 rows. I'm coming up here. This is where I began my weaving, right here. So what I'm going to do this time is just bring this around until I am at my weaving, and I'm going to cut my ends off. Flip my basket back over, and then I'm going to upset. And I'm upsetting by just bending these over. Keep your reeds real wet. They'll bend over nicely for you and won't crack. If you hear one crack, don't be too concerned. That's just one of the natures of reed. When I get to my 4 corners, my 4 spokes at each corner, I'm going to pin them up. Now I have a ending here. I'm going to cut that off, get it out of the way. Pin up my corners here. This is called upsetting your basket, making the bend so these will start going upright for you. And we can start our weaving around the base. Flip up my corners. Now I'm going to take out a piece of my dyed brown. Make sure I have the right side. Remember, reed has a right and a wrong side. I want my right side facing out. Tip my basket on the side. and begin my weaving. I always must start on top. That's very important. So when you come back to end. Just a basic weave over and under. I do use a lot of clothespins. Take off your corner, weave around the corner, put it back on. I put that corner clothespin back on to help shape the basket. Take a minute and pull the reed down and make sure it's following the corner. We want to make sure it's following the corner here. We have a nice smooth corner. And again, I'm going to put a clothespin on here till I do a couple of rows. It'll help me shape the basket. Take a minute at each one of your corners so that we start out the shape of this basket very neatly, because that'll kind of determine the whole shape of the basket if we don't start out neat and stay neat as we weave this first row around. I'm going to pick it up here. It's a little easier for me to handle. Kind of bend those uprights up as you weave along. Use a clothespin now and then to hold it in. Again, I'm going around my corner, putting my corner back on. I want to do this one row for you so we can just go over quickly on how to end it again. And then I'm going to talk you through the next couple of rows because they're just repetitious. I'm going to be doing the same thing again. Again, I'm adjusting that corner. When I get back to where I started, I can take off my clothespin. I will be on the exact same weave as I started. Coming across here, that hides my end. I'm going to weave right on top of my weaving that I started with. Come in here and weave over 4. My fourth one will be cut off just a little bit short of my spoke, and it slips under there and hides. Okay? Now you're going to weave 2 more rows. Remember to flip the basket so that you don't have that overlap at the same. Taking out my next one, what I've done here, let it drip a little bit. I have my 3 rows of brown. I have 3 rows of the 1/4 inch flat in the pink. Then I'm going to work from my spool here of my seagrass. This is number 1 seagrass. And I'm going to weave 2 rows. And I'm going to weave it opposite of my pink row. Weave this all the way around. When you come back to do this second row, you're going to be on exactly the same weave that you were on to begin with. So we have 2 rows woven together. So you're going to weave around twice. When you get back to this one here, you're simply going to cut it off, tuck it under there, and your next row of pink will hold it in. Come back to the finished basket here. I'm just repeating the steps I've already put in. 3 more rows of pink, 3 more rows of the brown, and then I do have here 2 rows of triple twine. I'll be using 3 of them, and I know we've done that before. I'm going to grab my seagrass here because I need it for another step to show you. When you've got the basket up to this point, we're going to start creating our sides going up here. And again, I'm going to be using my number 1 seagrass. I use it right from the coil. Do not weave on your direct center spoke. There's no weaving on that spoke. Pardon me. The seagrass goes behind the center spoke, but it's not woven on it. Over the next spoke and over and under. Again, just a basic basket weave. When you get to the other side, which I will be there in just a jiffy here, I am going to turn, not on my center spoke because nothing is woven on there, but on the spoke to the left of it. I'm going to turn and I'm going to weave back. I'll be weaving the opposite weave that I wove in the first row. Continue weaving. When you get back, you're going to make a turn on the very first spoke that we started on. Not our center one, though. It would be on the second one. And weave back. We're going to decrease our weaving each time. after 2 rows. So I'm going to weave back again, and this time I'm going to turn one more time on the spoke I already turned on. So I'll be turning on this spoke again. I have 2 turns on that. Weave back, and when I weave back here, you see I've already, actually this is considered a turn even though it's where we started. So then I will decrease by 1 and turn on this spoke here. Okay, I want you to continue weaving this around, decreasing by a spoke each time. So I've woven twice here, twice here. You're going to weave twice on 4 spokes, and then you're going to come around and weave once. Here's my turns on 4 spokes, and I've turned once on my 5th spoke, turned once on my 5th spoke on the other side, and then I've brought my weaving across and I've ended it where I would make another turn. I just leave a tail inside. You need to repeat this on both sides. You're going to do exactly the same thing on both sides. We're going to go on to the next step. Once you have that done, you're going to do 2 rows of just regular twine, single twine. You're going to do this with number 2 round, and then you're going to tuck and cut. Now there is a little trick on the tucking and cutting. As you go up the left side of the basket, you're going to start on the left side here, and you're going to trim back about halfway, and then make your bend and tuck it. And you're going to be tucking, go over your twining and tuck down into your seagrass. Use a tool to pick that seagrass up and tuck down into it. When you're working on the right side of the basket, the cut is going to be right. So when you're making your cuts, you're always going uphill. And then you're going to skip over your twining and tuck into your seagrass. Now these lengths are probably a little too long. It just peels away, so cut it back. If you put a point on it, it's going to travel into that tuck much easier. I have 1 more to tuck here. And then we're going to put on our handle. Now I told you we have talked about our handles before, but let me just quickly go over how I finish my handles. This is a Victorian handle, has these beautiful Victorian scallops on it. And I always start out with a heavy grade sanding pad, sand it down, flip it over, and the other side's a little smoother, and sand it down with that. Then I move to a fine grade of sandpaper, again sanding it down, get the sides in here so you have those nice and smooth. And my third step is a very, very fine sanding pad, and I sand everything down again. Take your time when you're sanding, because handles are so beautiful and so important that you do them nicely. This is an old t-shirt. This is Basket Maker's Oil. You can use your fingers if you like, or you can put it on a t-shirt, and you're simply going to put a coat on here of your oil, and what a difference that makes in a handle once it's all nice and smooth. It won't hurt your hands if you should get some on it. And we're going to go over. Take your time with it, though. Put on a nice even coat. Work it and make it glossy. The more you shine it and rub it, the more it's going to shine. I'm doing this kind of quickly here. I like to let it air dry for a little bit, too, before I insert it in the basket. But for time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and use it right directly today. To insert our handle on that very center spoke of the basket, we're going to come in here and we're going to lift up our reed, slide that handle down in there from the twining, work it down, keep picking up our reed on the way down. This handle goes all the way, almost all the way to the bottom. And then we're going to have it where this, our notched in here, is going to fit. That's where our rim is going to fit. Repeat this on the other side. I'm going to do this very quickly. And again, pick up that reed. This will handle, by adding the handle, will help bring in the sides too. Pick up the reed down in there, using either a basket weaving tool, a long shank screwdriver works real well, and work it in there. Now I already have my other material soaking. I have my flat oval here. I'm going to whittle down one end for about 3 inches. I like to place this end up here on the ends of the basket so that my overlap will be on the ends of the basket. Now as I work this down in here, because I have this angle here, I'm going to have to put a mark on it where my angle is. It would be in the center of my notch. I'm going to come in here with sharp scissors and I'm going to notch this out very carefully so I don't cut it in half. And then as I bring this back into here, that's going to form like a miter, and it fits right in there very nicely doing it this way. Work this around, and I have to repeat that step on this side. So I like to mark it first so I get it right in the center, make sure this is fitting snug. Mark it in the center, make that V cut on top. Very careful so you don't cut it in half. Make that miter fit in there. And I'm going to come over here, and where I've done that overlap, I'm going to cut it off. We have to repeat this on the other side, on the outside of the basket, and I'm going to do that very quickly right here. Opposite side. I started on the other side, so I'm going to start here. And again, I have to mark it in here where I'm going to cut my V. Has to be done on the inside and the outside. Using our clamps, we're going to clamp it in. You might need big clamps working on it here. And again, a V on this side. Then we're going to lash it. We've been through lashing, I think, lots before, showing you these steps. I'm not so sure I'm going to have enough time to show you the lashing, but I know that we've been through that plenty of times. We're going to begin our lashing the same way we've always done it, starting on the inside and bringing it around. But before you do your lashing, you'll want to add your number 5 seagrass. I've taken 2 strands of it, and I've added it in here to fill in this groove, and then I've lashed. And one other little thing I want to show you before we go is when I come to my handle to help hold this handle in place, I've lashed it. Because I've done single lashing, I've done my X each time as I go around. And I did the X twice, and that's just sturdy to help hold it in there a little tighter. And you put 2 rows up in here. The basket that we're going to be working on next week is our Americana storage basket. Has lots of color into it. Great idea for storing things, but can be used for lots of different purposes. A nice painted bottom, ball legs on it, or ball feet on it rather. I think you'll enjoy making this one. We'll look for you again next week.